Welcome back to Block TV. This is The Hunt, where we chase the Satoshi's treasure. That's that $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And today with us, we have the spokesperson for the actual hunt himself, Eric Meltzer. He is the editor at Proof of Work newsletter, as well as one of the runners of Primitive Ventures, a blockchain firm. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Well, first off, I want to wish you congratulations. I heard you recently had a baby.
Yeah, I've been sleeping even less than I normally do.
Wow.
So I sound pretty out of it on this interview, that's why.
Oh, well, pretty amazing that you're able to both take care of a newborn baby and run a global-wide scavenger hunt. What made you think of running this game in the first place?
So in the early 2000s, there were a lot of these alternate reality games, that were put on sometimes as marketing stunts and then sometimes just by people that wanted to make the world a more interesting place. And I played a lot of those, and I always found them to be a lot of fun. Particularly, there was one called Cicada 3301 that I thought was really cool. And I always thought it would be neat to have a Bitcoin scavenger hunt where people had to hunt for Bitcoin around the world. We couldn't, my partner Dovey and I have a lot of crazy ideas, and we couldn't really figure out a way to do this one in a way that would be, viral and that would be difficult enough to withstand all the really smart people on the internet. And then our fund actually, so we have a crypto-focused investment fund, and we use Shamirs secret sharing basically to store our crypto in a cold storage type of situation. And when we were playing with that tool, I realized that could be the basis of a really fun game. And so kind of for the past couple of months, we've been assembling this global team of people to help us with this, and getting the prize and everything. And so we decided, not to wait any longer and to just get it out there into the world. And the reception's been pretty amazing.
Wow, and like you said, that you were messing around with that Shamirs secret sharing with the fund. Now that leads me to my next question of, there's that $1 million worth of Bitcoin and that prize. Does that come from your fund? If not, who's funding this whole game?
Yeah, so it comes in part from our fund, and then in part from a really amazing group of folks we kind of put together, most of whom are people that got into Bitcoin very early, or who got into Bitcoin a bit later, but are huge believers in its potential. And so, with this game, we're trying to introduce a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't know about Bitcoin to Bitcoin. And I think that just appealed to a lot of people. And something I wasn't expecting actually was like, we explained this game to a bunch of our friends and asked them to put some money in, and a lot of them did. But what I wasn't expecting is now a lot of people on Twitter are saying they want to send more money to the prize address. We haven't revealed the address yet because it's actually coming in a clue soon.
Are you considering adding more funds? Are you considering making it a bigger prize or different checkpoints along the way?
Yeah, there's definitely some possibilities there. But what I found really cool is that a lot of Bitcoiners are saying they're going to send Bitcoin to the prize address as well and make it bigger. So I think, the Bitcoin community often gets a bad rap for being, toxic or negative or whatever. And I think a lot of that's just because of what Bitcoiners have to deal with on such a daily basis. There's so many scams. There's just so much negativity directed at Bitcoiners. But what I actually love about the community is how positive everyone is and how cool it is. And when you do something that people are actually excited about, people come out of the woodwork, and there's people are forming teams, and people are, messaging us, telling us we made their life, and this is just one of the most fun things they've ever seen. So it's been just really, really great. The whole team is just really, permanently stoked.
Right. For sure, us here at Block TV, we're super excited about it. We've been following. It's a lot of fun. Are you surprised by the reaction? Like you said, there's already a bunch of subreddits and forums and websites dedicated to banding people together to get them to play.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the truth on this one. We did not think this many people would play this fast, and so we're going to have an app for the hunt that makes it a lot easier, where you can store keys, and it makes it easier to form teams. And our thinking in releasing it before the app was ready is that really hardcore players will be fine just playing with the website and with their own cryptographic skills, and that normal people will probably not be interested until there's an easier way to do it. We were totally wrong, man. People are really smart. You put this thing out there, people go after it. And so, yeah, we've been kind of blown away by the early reception. Yeah,
and speaking about smart people, you guys released the first clue, that was in 4 locations. And John Cantrell, at least that's his name on Twitter, So he was able to brute force the second and third clue, changing the URL and that. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, did you guys plan for people to brute force it? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we put a clue. I mean, so when we had this first clue was this geographically based thing where you had to go to one of 10 locations around the world, and there was a lot of internal debate. We have this really big internal forum for talking about this stuff, and there was a lot of debate with team members where people were saying, look, it's not fair that you kind of have to be in a near a world major city to get this clue, and so we figured it'd be kind of interesting if there was a difficult but not that hard, way to cryptographically brute force these passwords. And so what we did is we encrypted the winning page, so the congrats page, with AES 256, but we used a really weak password. So this one was orbital, right? And we figured maybe someone clever would figure out that you could just do a dictionary attack and get all of these. And we expected that to take maybe a couple days to a week. Of course, John Cantrell did it in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Published a really great write-up. He did it actually even before the Asia clues had gone live, which was, I will say, not intended. He did it way faster than we were expecting.
Right.
Yeah, so that was cool. It's always Davi and I have this thesis that there's no such thing as a clue that's too hard. There's only clues that are too easy. Right. Just because in the face of the internet, you have so many really intelligent people out there that have such a weird diversity of skills that they're going to figure anything out. So yeah, I mean, the future clues will not be easily brute forceable, but it was cool to see that happen with the first three.
Right. Well, speaking of clues, and I mean, like you said, I'm sure they start easy to get people in, and they'll get harder. How often do you plan on releasing clues? Is there a set schedule, or you just go how you more react to how the game's going?
Yeah. So we definitely plan to be reactive. We're going to be releasing clues on Sundays. How many clues go out each Sunday is not determined yet. It's actually really hard to predict how fast people will solve clues. And so we want to see okay, we think this clue is really difficult. Is it actually? How long is it taking people? How many teams are getting it? And then we'll kind of adjust the pace of the game that way. There's a big, if you think about it from the game design perspective, there's a big trade-off between, is the game progressing so slowly that hardcore players are bored, or is it progressing so fast that if you have a day job, you can't possibly be competitive? And so we're trying to kind of strike a nice balance between those two.
Right. I mean, it seems like a massive undertaking. You had these clues all around the world. I mean, how big is your team, that you're able to come up with these great puzzles and clues, as well as just logistically getting people all around the world?
I mean, so we probably can't discuss how big the team is right now. I think there's kind of a fun meta puzzle of figuring out who's actually working on this. I talked about this on this podcast a couple days ago, but we do we have these business cards on the team, and everyone's business cards actually themselves add up with Shamirs to a Shamirs key. So if you can find us in real life and just ask for a business card, you can maybe get a key that way, and you can slowly figure out who's working on this. I will say, both me and then two other members of the team are people that have spent a lot of our lives traveling a lot, and we just kind of have friends all over the world. Wow. And that has made it much easier to deploy clues globally and to get insight onto local scenes and stuff.
Right. And how long did it take? I mean, how much prep did it require? How long did it take for you to at least come up with all the clues and prepare? And on top of that, do you already have all the clues for the game, or are you kind of making it up as it goes along?
No, definitely not. So we have a nice buffer of clues for the next couple of weeks to months. Some of the clues, so I don't want to give away anything in interviews that isn't available anywhere else, because it feels it's a little bit unfair. I will say that some of the clues are additive, so some of the clues build on each other, and so you'll see some kind of clue series, and then it's beneficial to figure out early clues because they'll allow you to solve later ones.
Right. And how long do you guys plan on the game actually running? Do you have a timetable of you want it to be this long, or once again dynamic based off the community?
Yeah, so my internal guess is it'll run for roughly a year, but that could change depending on a lot of stuff. So we'll see. It's people are really fast, and also when this one ends, we definitely plan to do a second one, pretty much immediately. So yeah. This is going to be an ongoing feature of Bitcoin. And actually, I mean, so I had this really interesting chat with Naval Ravikant yesterday. And his take was that basically the hunt is itself sort of an alternate form of proof of work, where you can distribute Bitcoin to people who provably want it and who are willing to put in real work, whether intellectual work or whether running around the globe to get the Bitcoin. And as a Bitcoiner, like I really love that. Like I want Bitcoin to go out to people that want it. And for a long time, I've tried like giving away small amounts of Bitcoin or whatever, and that never works. Like if you give someone something, that they didn't ask for, it's like there's no skin in the game. They don't really care about Bitcoin. And so having something where you can like, distribute it in this fashion, it's like a really good airdrop or something. And we're really excited to do it now and then to keep doing it.
And do you predict that most of the players will be crypto lovers who will get into alternate reality games, or it'll be a lot of alternate reality gamers who will now get into crypto?
It's an awesome question. Just because of what my network is like, it was easier for me to get a ton of crypto people excited about this really fast. I think the ARG people, when they do hear about this, which should be happening like today, tomorrow, as we do a bunch of these mainstream media interviews, are going to be really into it. They're also going to be really good at it. Like it's an interesting skill set that comes from those games. Internally, we really like discussing what we think the winning team is going to look like. And I think if I was completely just forced to guess, I would say there would be overrepresented in people that have played a lot of these old school ARGs. The other thing is we think that the team that wins is going to be extremely international, because we very deliberately made it so that no one country has enough keys to win. Mm-hmm. So if you want to win, you're going to have to collaborate with people around the world.
Right. I mean, so is that kind of what is your goal here for the game? Is it to promote unity in the community? Is it to raise awareness about cryptocurrencies, or just to have fun?
Yeah, all of the above. I mean, it was one of the things that was so fun about alternate reality games, and what made them a cool thing was that you have this thing online, so you have this online community, and then you figure out that there's this clue, and you go to that location, and suddenly you see all these other real people who are actually playing this game too, and there's this sort of secret recognition where you're like, oh yeah, okay, you're playing this too, that's cool. And so we want to have a lot of that. And for the first clue that we had this Boston location, New York location, Tokyo, Beijing, et cetera, and we got all these amazing pictures of these big crowds of people that showed up to play, and then they often went and got lunch afterwards or hung out. And so and I hope we can connect a lot of people up like this. There's going to be some clues that require what I would describe as altruistic collaboration, where you're going to be forced, if you want to win, you're going to have to resist prisoners' dilemmas, for example. We ran this game by a bunch of game theory researchers and people who's mostly econ people whose work touches on game theory a lot, and they typically were like, oh yeah, that's really interesting, and then they would call us back a day later and be like, holy crap, there was so much going on here. So we're really looking forward to seeing how a lot of this stuff plays out in real life.
That's so cool, guys. It's really a great idea. We love it. And you mentioned that you originally thought of it because for your own fund you were using the Shamirs secret sharing just as a form of cold storage. That's really interesting. I've never heard it. Do you guys think that you're the first ones to use that as a cold storage kind of tool?
Oh no, definitely not. So it's a very old. So Adi Shamir is this extremely badass Israeli cryptographer who's he's the S in RSA, and his work has touched basically every part of crypto, cryptography, not cryptocurrencies. Although a lot of it's useful for cryptocurrencies too. But no, I think a lot of funds do that. So Shamirs is probably not as good as using multisig for Bitcoin if you're just trying to do cold storage. We couldn't use multisig for our game because multisig doesn't support enough shares or enough multisigs. Mm-hmm. But Shamirs is cool because you can use Shamirs on any string. So you can Shamirs a private key for a type of cryptocurrency that doesn't have any good multisig. So I think it's appealing from that perspective. I think another thing that people will realize quickly as the game goes on is that you can fractally Shamirs stuff. So you can make a Shamirs split and then Shamirs that and then Shamirs those. And you can end up with this massive fragments of fragments that you have to all recombine down to something else. Mm-hmm. And so we did a toy example of that with our business cards, but I think there'll be a lot more of those where huge groups of people will have these sub fragments, and we'll have to all recombine them in order to get a key.
Wow. And now, doesn't it require? I'm not exactly super familiar with the way that Shamirs secret sharing works. Doesn't someone has to know the full key to put it in through the algorithm? So theoretically, the winner who has the key, or the group that has the key, someone on your end will also have that private key, no?
Someone on our end. So I'm not sure if I understand the question. I can explain sort of the trust model though. So basically, yes, when you assemble the Shamirs key, you're going to have the private key to the Bitcoin. And so that's something we initially thought was a bug. And we were thinking of like, how could we make it so that teams could be sure that when they recombine all their keys, they each get their proportional share. And then we realized it's actually like a really interesting challenge in and of itself. So like we're forcing these teams to be international. And by the difficulty of the puzzles, we think the teams are going to be relatively large. And so now you have this incredible problem of like, how do you come to trust these people that you've worked with, for a year to find all these keys? And there's a bunch of solutions. I mean, so you could all assemble in one place. You could all delegate people that you individually trust, and they could go assemble in one place. There may be a cryptographic solution to this. So like the Zcash guys have talked to us about potentially there's some multi-party computation stuff you could do, where you could actually make it so that it's cryptographically assured that everyone gets paid out. But we're now very into this, and we think that this is actually like a cool part of the game that you do have to trust in.
Yeah, so you're curious to see how it works out. Let the game naturally and organically see how it figures out a solution. Very cool.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, and then just to clarify though, I mean, so when you do the Shamirs recombination, you're not recombining it with us or anything. You're just using a tool. So we'll provide a tool. There'll be a tool in the app. There's already actually like a simple tool on the website, and you can just recombine it offline. So that we never actually see the key. Although of course we do have the key. So like to be super clear, like if you're playing this game, it means you trust us.
Yeah, that was more my question. Like, you guys have the key.
Yeah. I mean, so this is another one of those things where like some of the Zcash guys basically told us like there might be some incredibly complicated way that you could like generate these keys in such a way that no one on the team even actually knows all of them. But it's like we looked into it and it was a total mess and would have been technologically really scary. And so we were just like, forget this. Like, if you're playing, you trust us.
Yeah.
We have, I think, enough of a reputation in the community that like it would be totally insane for us to run off with the Bitcoin. If like I wanted to scam money, I would just launch like Eric coins and stupid. So I think there's easier ways to run a scam than this. Right. This is a lot of work.
And last question, do you feel like you're missing out because you can't actually take part in the game? Do you feel like, damn, I'm missing out on a cool ass game right now?
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely feel that. It's to be honest, it's really fun setting up the clues, and getting to watch other people hunt is like almost as fun as hunting ourselves. But like, man, I mean, eventually I'm gonna have to like hand this off to someone so that I can go play, because it's just too fun.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you want, we have a team here at BLOCKTV. You're more than welcome to join our team. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna have to take that one into consideration, but I think there's some other people that'd be pretty upset with me if I jump on. All right.
Thank you so much, Eric. Wonderful to have you. We'd love to have you back as the game progresses, and good luck with the new baby. And for all of our viewers here at BLOCKTV, make sure to check us out for all our updates on Satoshi's treasure hunt here or on our social media at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. See you later.